Dark. Classic. Match 1. DRG. Dream. Match 2. Africa TV. Freak Up
Welcome
Studio
back,
Live.
everybody.
2022. GSL
Welcome back.
Season
I'm
1.
making Artosis laugh on break. We're having fun.
Oh, God.
Artosis has his crazy
God.
Birdman laugh going.
Oh, my God, Tasteless. I have, like, tears, like my makeup's running. Oh.
Up next.
My eyes actually really hurt right now.
You're actually crying. You're laughing so hard.
Oh,
Guys,
my God.
Classic versus Dream is up next. These two guys fighting for their ability to survive and go up against DRG.
I'm sorry. Oh, you're just so funny,
We have a
Tasteless.
good time here.
Oh, my God,
We have a
guys.
good time here
However
at
much
GSL.
fun we have on the cast, the
I know
commercials
they
are twice
say-
as good.
They say esports is supposed to be serious.
Oh,
They were wrong.
they were definitely
They
wrong.
were wrong. He's
Said
literally-
the guy's still casting StarCraft 2.
Guys, it's going to be hardware, curious minds, and glittering ashes for our maps between these two. Classic versus Dream. Who do you think takes it, Artosis?
Oh, I think Classic takes it. Yeah. What about you, Tasteless?
I think Classic takes it too.
Okay,
All right, we
cool.
sorted that.
Can we talk about something else now, Tasteless?
Guys, let's go. Our best of three's ready.
GSL Season 1. Alpha X. Classic. Good Game Gaming. Dream.
All right, let's go.
Oh, Tasteless. Oh, my God.
It's good to be back doing Codas, guys.
It really is. It is. It feels right. Okay, so Dark has moved on. DRG awaits the loser, or the winner here, rather. We both think Classic's going to take it, but, you know, Dream actually is very good TVP.
Sure, and I also want to point out, I mean, he basically cheesed in the two TVZs. We don't really have a good feel of how he's going to play if the game's more ordinary.
Yeah. Yeah, and I mean, he plays a pretty in-your-face, micro-intensive, pressure-intensive TVP, generally speaking. In fact, look at this. Online, 16-18, Dream advantaged there. So that kind of shows you how strong he really is in this matchup, because once upon a time, Classic was the best PvTer in the world.
Yeah, that's true. Dream kind of one of the new age Terrans here, steadily improving. And, you know, let's see. You know, we talked a lot about PvZ and the patch changes and, you know, what may or may not entail with that. But what do you think about the new patch in this matchup, Artosis?
In this matchup, I think it's good because you're not going to kill your opponent with just like proxy Void Ray garbage anymore.
Mm-hmm.
It's the Void Rays are nerfed and the proxy cannons are nerfed.
Oh.
Or the proxy
Batteries.
excuse me, batteries are nerfed. I find this interesting that he actually made the Zealot. You don't really see that, you know?
Yeah.
To just make a Zealot. That's yeah, that's. I'm honestly not entirely sure why he chose to. Right? Like, the thing is, a Zealot early on, like, obviously, if you're being rushed or something, you definitely want it. It's not particularly great in this situation. It does not... In the early game, it's just not very microable, right? So, it doesn't do a whole hell of a lot unless you happen to be very aggressive. Maybe he knows that Dream likes to put the bunker down, and this can help a little bit because it's very tanky. I don't know. I don't know.
I do like the fact that he gets the bunker up here. The moment he realizes that Reaper can pop inside and that this is already a headache for Classic, Dream throws down a third command center and an eBay. It basically says, nothing from me else. early mid game. I am just going to power up. I'm going to macro up. And I like it. Now, Protoss is going for a Phoenix. And, I mean...
Might just be straight up a Phoenix opener, you know?
Could be.
Wow, that
Nice
Reaper
catch.
was so wrecked.
I know.
There's a whole squad down there waiting for him. Should have stayed in the
A
Protoss
whole
base.
task force down there to take
Yeah.
out the worst Terran unit in the game.
Yeah.
All right, so the Phoenix is coming down now. And he'll at least be able to scout this, and having that confirmation, we'll see exactly how Classic wants to play this. Maybe Protoss wants to take a third base more quickly.
Well, it does look like he's probably going up into Colossus to go with these Phoenixes, which is pretty standard stuff. Excuse me, and yeah, just lots of Marine production at the moment.
Now, is there any way, I mean, because you're going to see that, you know, it's going to be a macro play here. Even if you don't see the command center, you see the lack of anything else there, which kind of gives it away. Is there anything you think Protoss could do to try to punish this, or should he just try to sit back and wait for the third CC to come down and maybe try to get it then, punt it back up into the main?
Oh, you mean like moving
From the
out at that
Protoss'
point?
perspective, yeah.
Well, honestly, I think if you do a Phoenix opener that goes into Colossi, because almost all Phoenix openers do go into Colossi,
Sure.
you have to play it a little bit more defensively, I think, right? I don't think it's a very good early attacking composition, because you're kind of making so many tech units, and to walk across the map with that seems a little bit tough. So honestly, I think you go third Nexus, and then you macro up, you know, you get into your Twilight, you start getting, you know, whether it be charge, most likely charge first, and just kind of fill out your army before you're really gonna move out at that point.
He's still roaming with the Phoenixes. I don't think he's going to find much to pick off here. I think the
No.
Marines are well placed enough, and
Yeah,
it's never worth it to try to come in there and nab one Marine. You're going to drop a Phoenix.
Yeah, definitely not worth it. It's good to like just kind of get some intel, right?
What-
See like what's the production looking like? Is there anything out of the ordinary? Is there a new command center being started? That type of thing.
Now, it does seem like in this matchup, at least in the past, and I know we're in a new patch, but I don't think that this part of the matchup will necessarily change that much, is that the Terrans do seem to get more and more pressure to try to end the game the further along it gets, the more splash damage that the Protoss can get that will start to overlap, the more problems arise for the Terran. So we're talking about like Storm combined with Colossi shots or Disruptor shot. And it's not just, you know, an issue for Terran, and well, actually it is an issue specifically for Terran, but it's part of it. The reason why this is a problem is the way that the game pathing works together. Things kind of very fluidly move together like a blob or a chunk.
Yeah.
And so splash damage, incredibly powerful.
Yeah.
In StarCraft 2, much more so even than in StarCraft 1.
And, you know, Terran kind of has to use a Bioforce, which is susceptible to Splash. And the three
Right.
different forms of Splash that Protoss has, Psystorm, Colossi, and Disruptor, there's nothing that counters all of them. They all support each other really well. Like, literally, you can take any two, put them together, and they support each other extremely well.
Yeah, well, they all originate from different sources, right? The Colossi is just an attack. Storm is energy, and then the Disruptor is an ability that resets.
Yeah, and if you look at like the counters to each one, like if Vikings can counter Colossi, they're terrible against Disruptors and Psystorm.
Right.
EMP, great against you know, Psystorm, but obviously Colossi and Disruptors don't care about it, you know? So it's kind of like that. Now there is a second Stargate on the way, as well as +1 air attacks. We do have enhanced shockwaves coming up here for Dream. And here is one of the things that I'm really kind of watching for in this series, Tasteless, is which type of Terran is Dream going to be here today? Because I feel like there's two types. The type that thinks that it is possible to beat Protoss later in the game and will go into other units, and then the type that just stays on an army that can never actually fight the full ball.
Yeah.
Protoss, you know what I mean?
Yeah. We'll see, man.
Yeah. Like,
I mean,
does he go into, like, Liberators, let's say, right? Because that would be someone that is like, okay, we're going to make a composition that can actually win a fight, as opposed to one that just has to be mobile the whole time.
One thing to note on this map as well, it's a pretty tall map, you know? I mean, there's a lot of bases that are kind of easy for Protoss to take and basically stay back at, you know. And that may become an issue here for Terran inherently in the matchup. We've already seen, you know, in the few maps we've casted for this season that there may be some issues in late game for certain races at certain times.
Now, this is, like, he's got some EMP array. Like, we don't see it, but he does have a ghost in there. Does force a cancel here. Okay, that's nice. He's got to be careful with this set of units, though, right? Like, the 2 Colossi are going to deal a lot of damage over time here.
And not bad. I mean, forces a few things to restart. And, you know, I don't know how easily Terran can actually break down that base, but if you can at least stay on the offense, maybe you can start to really outgrow them behind this. But again, in the past, we've seen Terrans begin to struggle here, especially against a Protoss that is pretty graceful with the defense.
Yeah, it throws out the Disruption Ball, actually gets a really awesome hit right there. Nice EMP goes down on those Phoenixes, and this is not a very tanky army. It looks like Dream gonna run in, kill off pretty much everything, and obviously you have to cancel all this here. A lot of probes have died as well.
Dream may be about to win this game.
Yeah.
I mean, when you lose the Colossi, when you lose, you know, that core set, suddenly the infantry can basically, like this, just bum rush the Colossi. And, I mean, the Stalkers are going to warp in here. The battery, I mean, it's, you know, it's going to sustain for, you know, so long. I guess, to my shock at least, I thought one of those Colossi was going to die. It's still here.
Overcharge is pretty all right.
Yeah.
The Phoenixes actually end up helping out quite a bit here at the end as well. They picked off a lot of medevacs, picked up a lot of the heavier units as well. So it will be a hold for Classic, but I think Dream got a lot done there. He's way up in workers. Definitely has had map control. And the army that you're looking at from Classic that's walking across the map, I'm actually surprised is walking across the map because this is an army that will scale well. But what you look at right there, like that dies to anything, man. 2 Colossi and like a bunch of...
so brittle.
Yeah, it's... You need to complete the composition.
You mean this box art army over here, Ortosis?
Yeah, this box art army, exactly.
Five, what? No, 3 feet. No, 5 Phoenixes, 2 carriers.
It needs an Archon in there to really be as box art as it
with
can
1
get.
Templar to the side.
Yeah. A DT on the front lines, even though that never happens.
Commanding them. Well, you know, the first attack was a big success, and at this point in time, you know, the Terran army, it's girthy enough. It's able to start to really take some fights. The Colossi have been remade. It's 3 now, I think?
Yeah, I think he's got 3 with a 4th one being made even. One thing I want to point out, though, like, we have 2-2 for Terran, and no gateway upgrades here for Protoss. So Classic is definitely, like, just focusing on Robo Stargate, right? So that is definitely something that can scale, like, really, really well. But Dream is prepping. Like, he's making Vikings, he's getting +1 air attacks. And obviously, if you have a really good force of Vikings here, you have some EMPs, you have some Marines to help cover. Like, Vikings hit everything there.
Sure. I kind of like the building placement here. It's a little bit of obstructions here to try to draw fire away. All you need to do is have a few volleys come out of those Colossi, and you're going to greatly whittle down that army. Now, I think that Dream still has kind of the right idea. He's starting to break off chunks of his army and send them off in different directions. And, you know, one of the great ways to deal with a death ball is to almost not deal with it at all and attack in locations where the death ball can't really defend. So he's hitting up here. He's going to back out once the Colossi shots come in. But meanwhile, up here at the top, this other army's hitting. And now he's going to start to spread the defenses here of Classic pretty thin.
Dude, look at this wild battle that we're seeing. The flank of Dream coming in right now. Battery's keeping him kind of in it. Does lose that Nexus there. Looks like the last Phoenixes may end up getting picked off here. The Colossi coming up to clean everything, though. Dude, he's literally just going Colossi carrier. I feel like what we're seeing, the Classic's using a little kid's army.
Yeah, it's like when you're, you know, you first got the game and you're a little kid and you're like, well, I want to make the Spider Walkers.
Yeah.
And then the carriers.
And also, you play on maps that have unlimited money because you want to be able to build all the cool units and keep them all together in your army. But that's where Classic is having a hard time because he can't get his 4th base up, well, because he's only making the cool units.
Yeah, well, it's funny because, like, I think he just doesn't quite have the funding without a functional fourth base to fill this in with some gateway units. But you do need those gateway units to kind of sponge up damage.
He's not even upgrading them, you know? So, like, definitely they help, and I would like to see them in here, but, like, his vision is just like Colossi Carrier.
Right.
Which is so weird, but, I mean, I kind of want it to work. I want to see what this looks like. Unfortunately for him, though, that's a lot of Vikings. I think this is going to be game.
Yeah, this is over for sure. Dream takes game one, makes it look easy. GG.
All right. All right. I mean, well done from Dream.
Sure.
Classic. He was really trying hard to get that fourth base up, wasn't quite able to do it. He made it, like, it was a strange strat, right? Like, he made a lot of Phoenixes after he got his Colossi going. I don't mind adding some Phoenixes in there. They're good against drops. They're just helpful in general. I wouldn't have minded if he had maybe added some cannons in, not just shield batteries, things like that, right?
Sure.
Like you need the tankiness, you need some damage output there as well. I don't know. I want to see more of it. I want to see more of this strat. I hope that he does it again, honestly.
Let's go to Curious Minds for your Curious Mind, Artosis.
That's what they call me.
That's what they call you. Map 2, man. Classic versus Dream. The fight continues on. Again, Classic loses here. It's kind of weird to say, but he would be the first player eliminated in the whole GSL to start the year off.
He actually hasn't won a match since he got back.
No.
It's kind of crazy.
2022 GSL Season 1. Alpha X Classic. Good Game Gaming. Dream.
I find it interesting for a lot of reasons. It's not even exactly Classic's skill set, I would say. Not that he's not a complete player, but the style that he generally in the past has had the most success with in Protoss vs. Terran is a much more active style, more gateway intensive, less robo intensive. So it's interesting to see him try something like that is just so completely teched out, end of the tech tree, you know, just...
Well, the problem whenever you have stuff that's super tech heavy, and I mean, this is, I think especially true for Protoss, but it is true for the other races, is like Colossus Carrier, if you lose a couple of those in a fight, it takes a long time to remake it. With Terran, Marines, Marauders, Medivacs are pretty constant through the whole game.
Yeah.
So, if you drop, let's say, 2 Colossus or 2 Carriers or whatever the combination is, in that amount of time that one more Colossus comes out of your one Robo, they've already made enough that they're most likely going to have the angling to just surround you.
Absolutely.
So, I mean, it does seem like there's a bit of a burden on the Protoss to try to, like, really not lose that balance, but that's always sort of been a thing with Protoss, is like, they really need to have the right set of units.
Yes, for sure.
And each of those units does require sometimes a bit of tech focus in order to get it out.
Yeah, unless you're way ahead of as Protoss, you need a lot of technicality in your army.
Right.
And as soon as that starts to get reduced, you lose a lot of power. It's actually, what he was doing is a lot like a Protoss mech build, right?
Right.
Where, like, in small numbers, it's incredibly vulnerable, and then in really big numbers, you're like, oh, what even beats this? You have to really kind of theory crap at that point, right? Like, if he hits the army he's looking for there, which it looked like was just like a lot of carriers and Colossi, it's like, well, that's the army that you walk around the map and kill 7 computers with because you're playing on infinite money map.
Yeah. That's the army you mass up in the campaign, and then you're like, okay, I've got 15 of these things.
Yeah.
Let's just start to A-click across the map. It's the Stargate opening again for Classic.
Yeah, let's see if he goes Phoenix again. I think he probably will, and it doesn't have to be the same build.
This is so weird that he might just get knocked out of GSL right away.
Yeah, I'm looking for him to have a good year, and he could start that here. Like, I don't think it's impossible for him to get out of this group.
I kind of thought he was a realistic candidate to be competitive, but I would have thought if he gets knocked out, it would have been super close, but so far it hasn't really been at all.
No, not too much.
And I thought, you know, especially with how Dream looked, and again, I know those games were 2 all-ins, but I thought, you know, maybe that all-in play was a sign of desperation. I feel like Classic is more intimidating than DRG. And so when I saw him do that, I thought, well, maybe he's not ready at all for this group. But then he's looking great right now against Classic, so.
Well, this was a very nice cleanup there.
Makes me question ever attacking across the map with those Marines like that.
Dude, he has the Zealot again, by the way. Really interesting. I do.
Maybe there's some kind of rush people are doing, and the Zealot sort of,
it could be,
you know, just makes that not happen. This can happen where a build looks weird, and it's like, oh, well, there's a build on the ladder that everybody's doing, and it cheeses you out. But if you have this one unit that can't do it, and then so it doesn't look like it has any kind of role, it looks like it's almost a kind of weird expense in the build order until you realize it stopped something that could be brutal.
Yeah, I'm sure you're right that there's something in there that Classic doesn't like that helps against. And he has, stylistically in the past, had things like this that other Protoss players don't do. Like there was, back when Whirlwind was still a map, remember that map? It was our last 4-player that was really commonly used. But like for instance, back in that era, I remember he would make 2 Void Rays like every game against Terran. And they would basically be on medevac duty. You know, they kind of sit on the edges and look for that. And that was kind of an interesting thing that he did that other Protosses really weren't into. So might be something like that. Now, this build right now looks exactly the same. 3 Phoenixes into Colossi with range, getting ready to take his additional base. Looks exactly the same as the previous game.
Well, let's see if the results are going to be exactly the same here, because
I hope not.
I do think a part of Dream's success here was that he was very good at fracturing parts of his army off and kind of attacking weak points.
He's got the double shield battery set up at the 3rd. He's got, you know, an Immortal sitting there, nice. Couple medvacs on the way. First Colossi is out. The army is not looking bad. Their command center on location here. I think with that 3rd CC on location, that kind of signals to us that Dream is pretty aware of what's going on.
Yeah.
I mean, Phoenix comps in general don't attack early.
No.
It's just they don't, they just don't.
Well, I think they have 2 great purposes. One is that, you know, you're able to be safe against drops, but also you can scout very, very easily. So I think this is a great catch, by the way. You just get 1 medevac.
Yeah.
Especially against the splash damage play that's going to be inbound later on.
That's
amazing. That medevac. Oh! Artosis, Artosis, Artosis.
Well, he saves the other ones. They're pretty badly damaged, but yeah, the 1 medevac kill is actually gigantic. All right, gonna remake that Phoenix, but in ghost form. Send that across the map. +1 air attacks on the way. So, yeah, I think he's doing exactly the same thing. I'm really looking forward to learning more about what Classic is trying to do here.
Yeah, I mean, the question is it going to work long enough that we can kind of see it pan out? I guess the ideas are pretty straightforward, right? You get enough splash, like we said before. It's just that he's rushing into it, and the Phoenixes, you know, maybe one of the things about, you know, Widowmine drops and all this other stuff that's been a headache is the Phoenixes kind of make that actually not only defendable, but easy.
Second Stargate, should be seeing a fleet beacon here. More Phoenixes popping out. More shield batteries. It's really interesting to watch him do this, because he's just like making more and more static D. Stuff like this was more common before Legacy of the Void, and then stuff like this kind of got phased out a little bit because you just don't have as much income on any of these bases, right? So to sit there for this long on fewer bases turtling, making, you know, turtly buildings like cannons, and I mean, obviously nowadays we have shield batteries as well.
And, yeah.
It's a harder thing to make work.
Ooh. Ooh. Is he gonna go for it?
Ooh, there might be a big punish if he does.
So if he goes in here in spite of Phoenix's being out, this is going to cause a recall. That could be part of the plan, though. Oh, he can actually target down this Colossus.
Okay, he gets a Colossus, but he's going to lose, like, every medevac.
Yeah, it turns out batteries healing each other the best line of defense over here.
Okay, he does use the overcharge here, so the Immortal will buy a little bit of time, but I mean, he needs to save the Nexus. That's kind of the main thing here, I think.
Oh my God, that Immortal lived. Look at this, just this
Dude, that
ant farm maze that they have to move through to get to where they need to be.
Oh, boy.
Oh!
Oh my God.
There's a lot of Protoss stuff just almost dying this game and then not.
Yeah.
Well, you know, overextending, it's one very easy way to lose. And I don't see any way that Terran can now stop the counterattack, man.
It is a little bit scary at this point.
Too many Phoenixes in the air. There's too many
right.
Colossi on the ground. It's like, well, this is just it. But I think a lot of this comes down to that big drop in the main. Like, why do that?
Yeah, against Mass Phoenix.
And it's funny because, like, he's like, aha, I'm just going to sneak by the Phoenixes. And he does. And he's like, well, now you're stuck in his base.
Yeah. Yeah, well, he was going to lose everything. I guess he... Maybe if he kills the third there and gets out or something, but then he doesn't kill that, even though the Colossi path really terribly back to the third, he still saved it. So it didn't seem like there was like a lot of potential for that anyways. All right, now Classic going to back up. He definitely did good damage on that counter. Dream does have more workers, so he can, I mean, on 80 workers, you can easily supply 4 base.
Yeah, no, I don't know how Dream recovers. I mean, Carrier's already coming out, and this time there are plenty of Colossi in the game. There's 5 total now.
Yeah, it's a lot better than the last time for him. He's throwing down a lot of extra cannons as well.
And, I mean, this is a pretty puny army, I think, from Terran.
Yeah, you got to pull back. Like, you just can't fight that.
Yeah.
And now we're starting to see what Classic's idea was this whole time, because we're looking at Dream kind of has the same type of army he had last game. We haven't seen the air attack start yet. I think we probably will. But it just doesn't look like he can take any fight against this. And now I think Classic is going to kind of slowly but surely just push out taking bases.
Now, you know, one thing to keep in mind is that this army from Protoss, it's not very nimble. So, like, he can orbit 4 bases, no problem with this, and he's fine. But at the same time, like, if it's the Protoss' time to attack across the map, it does seem like Terran could set up a counterattack that Phoenixes alone can't, you know, save. Now, we already saw this once, but we're going to see it again. It's the 4 medevacs, this time 4 instead of 3, running up into the main. He's scanning, and he's trying to draw attention over here so that this can medevac boost up into the main.
Some disruptors being added in. You know, what's the carrier count exactly right now? It's not very high yet.
Right. It's
Phoenixes do run into this. I mean, they put some damage on the medevacs. Okay, 3 carriers. Like, you're going to clear this pretty well with the carriers. I like the mine.
And then there's just not enough here.
Oh my God.
Okay, it's War of the Worlds over here. I don't feel like Terran can recover from this. Look at this.
Kills
like,
1 carrier? That's going to be it, though.
Okay, I don't know how Terran can win now. I mean, granted, Dream still has lots of bases.
Yeah.
You know, he's not, just because he's losing his army doesn't mean he's going to lose the game, but again, the Protoss is now, what, still on 4 base, but looking strong.
I think there's a little bit of potential. It definitely looks scary. This looks like such a hard army to engage. But if he continues to use mobility and continues to expand, I could see maybe figuring out a way to do this as Dream. Like you have to build up your Viking count quite a bit and just roll through everything eventually, but you have to keep Protoss on his side of the map during that, which is what's not occurring right here. I feel like he needs to kind of be everywhere on the map right now. You know what I mean? Like he needs to be hitting somewhere consistently while building the Viking count. It's like, I think that a victory here for Terran is very tactics driven.
Okay,
look at that army, man. Oh my God. Corruptors would have a field day with that army.
Corruptors' mouths are watering right now looking at this. Okay, he's going to come in here. I don't know how Terran even gets close to that.
He needs temples.
Oh, 13 SCVs. You know, this really goes to show you just how much the Terran has to be careful early on. Okay, but these Vikings are actually going crazy.
Yeah, EMP plus Viking, not bad. He's doing a good job there. There are a few Stalkers that have been added in. There are a few more Phoenixes coming to join.
Can he try to zone him out over here?
Huh. Classic taking top right. I think Dream is playing really well, man.
Yeah, well, even after some screw-ups with his engagements, I mean, he's showing a lot of patience. He knew to pull that base off, take the SCVs out, and wait for a better position.
It's a nice forced cancel here on the left side, and now he's on 2 different locations, right? And it is very much a death ball composition he's up against, so that's... If he's very much on top of everything, this could go well for him. So here comes a big attack. You're going to force a recall here if he wants to save it.
But he could probably get that Nexus in time, right?
Yeah, and he can't even recall. I mean,
that's right.
Going down and everything, that's it. Down goes the Nexus.
Goodbye.
Now, Dream is down in supply right now.
His
army does evaporate rather quickly.
Well, it looks like this base at the top right is going to get hit.
Oh, sick EMPs go down.
Yeah, actually crazy. And so many Vikings, dude.
Yeah.
Are there actually more Vikings than Phoenixes here?
It
looks like with the carriers, never mind.
Yeah, and 4 more Phoenixes coming up now. So the Vikings, everything is going to be absolutely wrecked. Oh my God.
Yeah, just massacres this. The Terran base is just a screen size away, so he can go right down there. Dream's gonna have to lift this off, excuse me.
And Dream is trying to expand to the bottom left now. Doesn't really have an army to speak of. I think we're going to be going to Game 3 finally tonight.
Yeah, he's going to keep pushing up here. This is definitely going to Game 3. I mean, I don't think there's any way Dream can recover. I think he had a cool denial on that base, and it looked like, you know, maybe Protoss is going to be pressed, but you have to make sure that when you get those wins, you get out with that army. And I just don't think he was quite able to do that. And so now, without the threat of counterattacks, the death ball for Protoss can basically angle its way through the natural and then eventually up into the main. And then there's just no way for the Terran to win.
Yeah, the Viking count seems like it just was not quite high enough. The Phoenixes, despite the EMP going off, ended up defeating them. And you can't even make Vikings now. There's 17 Phoenixes here. And suddenly this composition just looks so ridiculous.
Yeah. And again, can't let him get this far. Classic wins that, and it's going to be the next game to decide who gets knocked out first here. But that was a much better game from him. I'm glad to see the Classic can still bring it. We see the ideas coming to fruition here. With how he's approaching it. He wants to have enough splash and enough anti-air that basically the Terran can never full-on fight it. And it becomes kind of an avoidance play from the Terran, and all the Terran has to do is overcommit once or twice, and the Protoss says, thank you, and goes straight to where the origin point of all incoming units are, the Terran's main, and wins.
Well, I think that we definitely saw the power that Classic can bring to the table with the strat, but I think the mistake was there for Dream rather than the brilliance for Classic. Like that drop into the main base where everything got wiped and then he didn't kill the third. And it's like, okay, you just gave way too much army, and that gave Classic all the room he needed to get into that full composition. I think if he doesn't waste like that, he can beat him in the same type of game again.
Glittering Ashes for map 3. Classic versus Dream. If Classic can do it again, he's going to move on. Dream probably needs to have a little bit cleaner early game if it's going to be a game like that last one. Anyways, Glittering Ashes, let's go.
2022 GSL Season 1. Alpha X Classic. Good Game Gaming. Dream.
All right.
I'm excited about this game 3 to see the corrections that are going to be put into place, because I think Classic's going to do the same thing again.
We had a couple one-sided games so far here for Group A.
Yeah.
So you know it's good to have finally a back and forth with somebody here.
Yeah. Well, that happens a lot though in the first round of GSL Code S.
Sure.
Generally, there are some imbalances, although this group is like relatively close aside from Dark, right? Like Dark is a guy that you actually are like, okay, he's one of the 3 guys that's going to win this tournament.
Right,
it's like Dark, Rogue, and Maru are kind of the guys where it's like, well, I mean, one of them's going to win, right? It would be really weird otherwise.
And so, I mean, you know, with just these 3 guys remaining, I still think anybody could get out. DRG did look very strong against Classic. Classic definitely kind of committing to these air comps later on.
Yeah, I would agree. Everyone can get out. I think as long as Dream doesn't proxy Rax DRG again, you know, let's pull the plug on those. Let's play some normal games. But yeah, I honestly I do think that Dream's going to be able to take this. It looks like we have the Zealot out again. Going to try the bunker. I don't think that's going to work since the Zealot's going to walk over.
No, I feel like you can't recycle this into this every time.
Yeah.
But he tries anyways.
I mean, the Zealot isn't very common, so you probably get that up a lot.
Now here's the Reaper with his dual pistols. What a lame guy.
I know.
There's nothing less cool than dual pistols, right?
I loved them in Counter-Strike, man, honestly.
You're so bad, Artos. You're so bad.
I'm aware, Tasteless. Wow, Tasteless, you know that dual pistols are bad? Wow, you're so good, Tasteless. You're so good.
Gamer. Okay.
You don't feel cooler with 2 pistols?
No. I feel cooler with
Did you just not have a childhood?
With any sniper rifle that's not the most expensive one but fires faster. That's where I put my sunglasses on.
Yeah.
So, yeah, he's like, all right, can I come in? No? Okay, cool.
I like that
no problem.
He's watching. Oh, man.
Robo, I mean, this is his build, man. This is the
build.
PBT opening.
Yeah, so, I mean, the 3rd command center is in the main base already being turned into an orbital, so he's going to be able to get his economy going very nicely.
Right. And I think no side should have any kind of pronounced place for the next couple of minutes here. I don't think anybody wants to really attack and do anything. They're both trying to assemble what they need into the mid game. So we're going to have a pretty straight up game to start things off.
Yeah. But you know, obviously Classic is making little adjustments to how Dream is playing, but Classic's style is far enough from standard that I feel like Dream is learning more each and every game. I feel like right now I have like 10 reasons why Dream is going to win and 2 why Classic's going to win. You know what I mean?
And the ones that for Classic winning, you're like, well, here's what happens when a bunch of Colossus are together.
Yeah.
And the other one's like a video of Phoenixes shooting down medevacs as they try to unload slowly.
Exactly. Those are the Classic wins this situations.
Yeah.
But we'll see if Dream is actually able to capitalize, right? Like, if the thing is, you're going to have to pull the trigger at some point because Classic ain't attacking you. Right, like he can do a little move like this, but this is not an attack. What is it that Artos is attacking? It's an attack. Yeah, shut up. So annoying.
They got you, Artosis.
Yeah.
So here's that 3rd base. Everything, you know, mirroring what Classic did earlier. Thermal Lance inbound here. Terra going to float that CC very soon over to the 3rd base.
3rd Nexus is going to be finishing up here as well. Worker count, very healthy on both sides.
And, you know, the real reason why Dream lost Game 1, honestly, is... I'm sorry, Dream won Game 1. Honestly, is just that Classic's Colossi got clipped. He lost 2. And when you lose a couple of those, especially when you're just getting started with the whole amassing of Colossi and Carrier, you need to have the first couple there because they're the only thing that are letting you make the other ones.
Yeah.
Because of the order in which you're teching. Because you didn't really tech into a large you know, ground army of zealots and stalkers. Like, this is the opposite of the stalker opening with 3 gateways where you get blink and you're like, all right,
Yeah.
we're going to try to put some pressure on and do this and that. And then later on we have a Colossus and they kind of all pair together.
Yeah.
You know, the big Colossus is like the mama and the little stalkers are like the babies, you know?
Yeah.
But in all seriousness, you know, when you're just getting Colossi and, you know, doing some Stargate tech, you really need to make sure each Colossus stays alive. Otherwise, they can't defend each other.
Yeah. It's that's definitely the thing. It is about that scaling. It is like a Protoss mech type of build. And, you know, you're not really putting pressure on. You're flying around with the Phoenixes, sure. And look, I mean, this is good stuff. You're getting some information. You're killing a few SCVs. That's fantastic right there for classic moves like that. It's so useful. But not end of the world for Dream. This is not what's going to necessarily win the game here for Classic. By the way, it looks like he wants to get ready to take a 4th base already here, which is kind of super fast.
Yeah, seems pretty speedy. The Phoenixes are coming in here looking for anything they can find. They're pretty spread out, so he's got to be careful. Don't want to drop a Phoenix here or there.
Yeah,
Does drop one.
You know, this expanding in this general unit composition, you know, one thing to note is this is how he's actually putting pressure onto Dream. Like, Dream is the one that has to pull the trigger here. He has to find a way in now. You cannot just let your opponent make these units all together and be like, that's fine, I'll just win later.
Right. Okay, comes in here and chases those Phoenixes away. And it looks like they might be coming up over into it. Look, so notice everything's branching out here. And I don't think, yeah, there's not enough Marines at the bottom and not even up on the left here to kind of get a good surround. Now, he's got some up here at 12 o'clock, but he doesn't seem to have anywhere to kind of throw them in to start to cause a strain here on Classic.
Classic now is actually splitting his army. Sent like half of it towards the natural and half of it towards the 4th base. This is a rather large Terran army coming up right now. Lots of Marines in there.
Now, looking at the 3rd base and the 4th base, I don't feel like this geography is too bad for Protoss.
No, it looks okay, yeah. Like the way that you have these little ramps, and then it's kind of like a straight line.
Yeah.
He doesn't have like great vision outside of it, so the map is a little bit of a dark and scary place for Classic. But you see he's roaming back and forth. He's trying to kind of keep active so he can catch anything coming in.
A couple of DTs are here.
I think those are adepts.
Oh, I'm sorry, adepts. And you have...
what told me is when I could see them.
Yeah, they weren't cloaked. I think seeing that in this phase of the game later on, I'm like, oh yeah, DTs, of course, late game PvT.
Yeah. 2 more Stargates. So getting into that carrier production, diving in now on some of these SCVs.
Okay, he's coming up now.
That's fake, right? Oh, no, there are units behind. I only saw the mid-packs. I'm like, what?
Well, he's coming up here to the top now. I think he wants to draw this attack away, but I think the scan might have given away the intentions here of Classic. So he's going to try again. Now, I feel like we saw this already in Game 2 and it didn't quite work, but is it going to work here again? Yeah. He also might try to drop on top of the Colossi.
But look at this. The spread of units here. He's got some of that static D up. I like it. Tries to send in those medevacs, and he's just going to start to drop here. But yeah, this is... He's got to be careful with moves like this.
I agree.
Now, what I like is that he has army on both sides, and he started like his Viking production already. He has +1 already done for those Vikings, but like you're sitting against a very turtle Protoss with his army split up, and you're trying to rush in medevacs, and that just... I think like hitting the edges is cool, but when you're trying to pull a fast one, and literally the only thing Classic is doing right now is watching for that.
Right.
That's it, because that's one of his win conditions that we talked about, right?
Well, Protoss has a little bit less than Terran as far as bases, with this 6 o'clock base being taken, but yeah, it seems like Protoss has basically gotten to where the Protoss wants to be. There's enough carriers, there's enough Colossus, and the Phoenixes have been keeping the Terran honest. And so now, you know, I think shortly here, once the Protoss holds off the next attack, assuming that happens, I think they're going to start going for a fight. They're going to start trying to end this game.
Well, this is looking different from Classic this time as well, I have to say. He's not just staying on Sky, right? Like, he's actually getting attack upgrades, he's getting charge, he's getting a ton of gateways. So it's definitely a bit different. Like, it looks the same, I think, in many, many ways. But he's going to be able to refill. Like, if you get too many Vikings here, he can go ground. You know, he has like 8 gates or something right now. He has charge about to finish. So Classic, this feels like he's in a way better spot than the previous game.
Well, it looks like he's where he needs to be. He's where he wants to be. Disruptor's here as well. Now he's going to try to actually start to take the fight and just annihilating everything. The counterattack comes in. Now, what's actually back here for Protoss? Nothing.
Yeah, this is exactly the type of move I think he needs to make.
Yeah, and this is great.
Here.
You can kill off this Nexus.
Yeah.
Maybe pick up and, I don't know, go into the main or get the Forge or, I don't know, just get whatever you can get.
Sure, there's a Robo here. There's upgrades going on. It looks like there's going to be enough units coming in that, I mean, this army is obviously not going to last. But that's good damage. This is exactly the type of move you want to do because it is very much so a deathball composition that Classic is on right now. So it's being warped in. So now he... Yeah, I like this. I like this. Oh my god, we're getting the Tempest damage upgrade here. Blink on the way as well. More Nexuses, more Robos, Dark Shrine, Templar Archives. Classic just getting everything. Has Phoenix range, by the way.
Okay, he's going to come down once again. Do we have any other counterattacks set up here for Terran? I see one down here in the bottom right. But at some point in time, you got to realize that from the Protoss' perspective, you can actually just keep pushing. Ooh, you know, and you're going to have stuff warping in, drop a Nexus or two, but keep going for it.
Well, I think he's killing a lot of interceptors of these Vikings. Unfortunately, those are the worst possible things for him to be attacking. I think he needs to target fire every single shot.
I think you're right.
So we just saw like 6 or 7 volleys of 12+ Vikings hit interceptors, which is just not going to be a good trade for you.
This game should be over. Yeah. There's no way for Terran to stop this amount of damage. And the small forces that were a distraction, I mean, look, Protoss Warpins of Zealots alone are going to clean that up. GG, Classic takes it, and we're going to the final match of the night.
All right, yeah, Classic finally taking down a match here. Dream, it's kind of weird to have him out in the first round. He's had very good seasons for the last couple years.
Yeah, he's looked very strong, and he certainly looked strong in this series.
Yeah, he was not bad, but that's hard to play against, right?
Well, it does seem like Classic clearly gets something here. It's like, especially on a map like that where a lot of the entry points to the like first layer of exterior bases on that map, like the 3rd and the 4th for Protoss, it's like actually these entry points are very bottleneckish, and that's where splash damage thrives.
Yeah. All right. That means we're going to go to a quick commercial break. When we come back, DRG versus Classic.